All right, well, we're making a decision to call it quits with our pastured rabbits program. I've been working on this design and method for about 3 years now, and we've had varying degrees of success. The animals are happy and healthy in here. The cage, we started out keeping everyone separate and couldn't really get the couldn't really time it where we'd get reliable babies. So we'd put the males in and it would look like something happened, but you know, you'd wait for the gestation and no litters, no babies. So we decided to link the individual boxes together and keep a buck and two does together all the time. They get along well, they don't fight, they're real happy and calm in here. There's 2 nest boxes in the back, so one on each side for when they have litters. We had troubles when they'd have litters out here on pasture where it would be we'd get it would be too cold and litters would die. We solved that by putting hay in the bottom and then putting a box with hay in it on top of the hay, so they could never get all the way down to the bottom of the wood, where it would just the cold and the moisture would just kind of suck all the heat out of the babies and they die. So that works. Now we had a bunch of since we put them all together, we had several kinds of diseases kind of rampage through the colony and wipe out a bunch of them. Now these genetics seem to not really have any disease issues. The other problem we're having is we have kind of a closed system here with the fencing and paddock shift, and I have dogs in here, and every time the dogs can get to this cage, they'll kill a couple rabbits, which, you know, makes it frustrating and adds problems. Now the main reason why we're going to be stopping this program is I have pigs on pasture, and with their rooting and digging, there's just no way that I can keep the ground flat enough that I can keep the cage tight enough to the ground to stop them from getting out. So you'll get I get a lot of escapes, and it's not that it's really that hard to round them up and get them back in. It's, you know, it's just kind of a pain, you know, and if they get by the dogs, they get eaten, and it's just, to us, not really working for our system anymore. And that's why we're gonna be stopping with the pastured rabbits. And I'm gonna post this because maybe it would work for somebody who would have, you know, really flat ground, you know, that has an area that they mow fairly regularly, because that's another problem. When you have this big clumpy grasses, it holds up the sides off the ground, and then you have gaps under it. And with the adults, it's not that big of a deal. The adults don't seem to really want to escape typically, but when you do have litters, and I have grow out boxes, which I'll show too, the younger rabbits, they tend to really try to dig and escape all the time, which when you have, you know, 2 litters of 10, you know, all escaped, it's a process to try to get them corralled and rounded up and put them all back in, you know, and it's just not really working for us. I will not raise rabbits in battery cages. I really feel that if I can't do it where they're actually have contact with the ground and are in a movable shelter where I don't have to clean up after them, I really am not interested in doing rabbits at all. So this is what I ended up with. The adult cage really is has wire only going in about 3 inches around the bottom, so there's wire, like welded wire, actually a perimeter of it on the ground to try to disrupt them from digging out or escaping. And that seems to work just fine with the adults. I got 2 feeders in them, 2 waterers, and two nest boxes all the way at the back. And the top is just held on by fence wire, kind of bent with eye hooks. You know, So yeah, so I don't know if anyone, it could work for people who have, like I said, you have to have pretty flat ground that you mow fairly regularly, and you know, keeping dogs away from them is kind of a must, because the dogs will come here and they will just kind of circle, at least my dogs will just kind of circle around this cage until they freak the rabbits out enough that the rabbits try to escape, and then once the rabbits get out of the box, it's kind of game over for the rabbits. So anyway, I'll show the grow out box next. Alright, so here's a grow out box. It's the same dimensions, 4x8 basically, with a platform in the back for them to get up off the ground. The platform in the back kind of, this is the grow out box, so I didn't set it up for nests for babies. So, and as you can see, I have a lot bigger area of welded wire perimeter with a, you know, with a nice big section of open ground in the middle, and they can eat through the welded wire. You can see there's grass poking up through it, and they'll go down and eat through it, and that wasn't an issue. But the issue I was having with this style is the grasses, when they get tall, this in the spring and summer, they will push the whole cage up. You know, the cage will kind of float on the grass, leaving big gaps underneath it, and then the rabbits would try to escape. Now, the reason why I'm so adamant here, especially here, about having a place where they can get in contact with the ground is they stay cool enough in the hottest part of summer. You'll come out and they'll just be laid flat out on the ground, and the ground just kind of sucks the heat out of them, and they don't suffer as much as if they're in the battery cage off the ground and it's over 100 degrees, you know, which is not uncommon here in Tennessee. They're gonna die. You know, you're gonna have problems with them suffering through the heat, and then you'll have to mitigate it with some kind of fan or mist system or air conditioning or something else that makes that doesn't seem to be worth rabbits for me. So I don't do that. The other thing is I like I said before, I really like to keep all my animals and all my systems mobile and portable, because I just simply don't want to clean up poop, for one thing, and for another thing, I like the manure to be distributed naturally on the grass, on the pasture where it belongs. So this is really the only system I could come up with that did that. You know, I've seen people with pretty elaborate colony setups where you do a big fenced in area, but inevitably that area will be completely devoid of plant life eventually, and then there's all kinds of illness that comes on with animals, rabbits especially, being in the same area for too long, and you're going to start having disease issues and veterinary issues and all that fun stuff, which to me is just not worth it for rabbits. So that's another reason why I'm calling it quits for this system. But, you know, it's a good system. It's real easy. I mean, all I do, I drag this, I bring out a little bit of feed, and I drag this box forward one section every day. It literally takes 5 minutes. It's really no work at all. And the rabbits kind of take care of themselves. And it's a mobile breeding program. It's not just a mobile grow out program. I've seen quite a few people who just do their grow outs mobiles, and they'll have the breeding program in a more conventional battery cage setup. But this keeps the entire system mobile. And like I said, it's just a matter of having a flat area, dog free preferably, and someplace where you mow fairly regular. So anyway, that's what I learned in 3 years of trying to create a new way of raising rabbits, at least for me. And hopefully someone can make something of it. Enjoy.